What's going on, Southern Michigan Podcast? Welcome back into another edition. Thank you for watching or listening wherever you get your podcast up on YouTube. Click the bell, subscribe, and share the show. Very much appreciated. And if you could also leave us a review. Um, Another shout out and congrats to Jennifer and Justin for winning our giveaways. We did a autographed JJ McCarthy jersey and a Blake Corum jersey, and so those are our two winners. So shout out to you guys again, and thank you for all the support. We've reached a sixth country and listeners, so that is just absolutely amazing, and very I'm very thankful for that. We got a big episode for y'all. We're gonna recap Fresno State. We're gonna recap college football in general after week one. We'll preview Texas. We'll kind of go over some of my betting picks this weekend, games I'm watching this weekend. Of course, we got the NFL tomorrow. As of this recording, it's September 4th. So tomorrow night, Thursday, is Baltimore and Kansas City. So Chiefs, Ravens, fantasy football's here. Uh, it's been amazing. Last week it was in Southeast Michigan. It was absolutely just scorching hot outside, sweating whatever off. Friday at the high school game, man, it was almost unbearable. And then this week, whatever, it's 50 degrees in the morning and barely 75 in the afternoon, and we're wearing hoodies. So kind of a role reversal, kind of, if you will, a little 180. So let's get into recapping last week, or week one, that is. My betting picks flopped. Uh, Clemson looked rough. I did three, right? And so Clemson looked rough. Georgia whooped them, but didn't even come close to the over under line. It was 48.5, and I was taking the over, and so it finished at 37. I thought Clemson was going to come out and score way more points than they did. Georgia pretty much took care of them, and Dabo Swinney might have to rethink his strategy and his opinions on the transfer portal. I don't know. Maybe they can get something figured out. And for his case, for his sake, hopefully they're not in the Florida State boat. The other one was Illinois State and Iowa. The over/under, I took the under, was 40.5. This game finished 40-0, so it hit right on the money. And so that was the one I hit out of the three. The third one and the other one I didn't hit was the spread on the Florida International Indiana game. It was plus 22. I took was it the Tigers, Lions, Panthers? Yeah, Panthers. I took them in the points. IU 131-7, and I don't want to say it was a garbage time TD, but the Hoosiers scored late in the fourth quarter and pulled away. So that busted. Kind of hoping to rebound after a 1-3, start. But those are the picks that I bet I lost, and we'll look to avenge that week two. And with the NFL, like I said, this week and weekend, I got a nice hefty low risk high reward parlay going. So hopefully for a little early retirement, right? Next, UCLA was a 13.5 favorite over Hawaii as they won by 3, 16-13. Both teams couldn't run the ball, with the Bruins tallying 71 on the ground, and while the Warriors notched 51. Hawaii led time of possession and accumulated 10 penalties for 97 yards. And this is another one where, Hawaii didn't win, but, being the underdog that they were, the money line was pretty juicy. So if you took the Rainbow Warriors, you were looking pretty decent for majority of that game. Next, Minnesota missed a game-winning field goal at home right before celebratory fireworks were launched in embarrassing fashion. Let me pull this up. This was pretty funny. This is like, see, this was up on Twitter. If you're watching, you can see it right now. I'll hit play. 47 yards. I can't believe they set off So, Minnesota, I think it was a Friday night. Was it Friday night? They were playing North Carolina. And, I can't believe they set off 47 yards. They were playing North Carolina, and they were down 19-17, so they had a chance to kick this into game-winning mode, and they didn't. And the stadium, whoever's in charge of that, decided to light off the the fireworks for what would be a celebratory win, and it didn't happen. So instead, it's kind of funny that they had a technical error. Anyways, moving on. Didn't watch much of it as I was at the high school game in my town, but MSU narrowly beat Florida Atlantic. Aiden Childs for a couple picks and looked off, completing just 10 of 24 of his passes. So kid has a lot of confidence, but he's also trying to instill the leadership qualities and everything that comes with the quarterback spot. So the Spartans are going to look to rebound. I think they got Boston College this weekend. And Boston College obviously took care of Florida State pretty handily. So we'll get into those teams later as well. Um, took Iowa to the second half to move the offense, but with Reese Vanderzee catching 2 touchdowns and Jacob Gill, the Northwestern transfer, with 1. The Hawkeyes tied all of last season with wide receiver scores. In 2022, Iowa wide receivers only caught 2 touchdowns. So I guess we're moving here in the right direction. I saw that graphic and I was pretty blown away. So, and in just one game, they've already surpassed the last 2 years. So you just see where Brian Ferentz had that offense. Idaho gave Oregon a run for its money. Ducks won 24-14, but until the 10-point fourth quarter late, this game was knotted up. Funny looking at the box score as Oregon dominated TOP and Gabriel threw the ball 49 times and completed 41 of them. So it's a pretty wild box score. Um, but is what it is. Um, win's a win. Ole Miss obliterates Furman 76-0. Jackson Dart throws for 418 yards and scores 6 times, 5 pass, 1 rush. I mean, that was basically his halftime numbers too. He got yanked early. Boise State in a barn burner with Georgia Southern. Running back Ashton Gianti runs for 267 yards and 6 touchdowns. So Boise State's got a running back, and they got a big game coming up this weekend. And we'll see if they can keep it going, keep the momentum rolling. Penn State took care of West Virginia, and even in the rain delay, Drew Allar came into the second half and looked impressive. West Virginia was moving the ball at times, but once they got near the red zone, it just fell apart. So I did watch this game quite a bit. I believe this was at noon, and yeah, Drew Allar looked pretty impressive. The deep shots were there; they connected. The running backs were complimentary. The defense was really good. Abdul Carter really good. West Virginia, like I said, they move their ball. They move the ball at times, but it seemed like right when they crossed the 50 and they got closer to that red zone, it was like punt, 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 fumble, punt, 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 punt. And they couldn't put it together. So, if you guys remember, we did the preview for Penn State, and when we previewed this game, where we went through the schedule, and you look at the series overall record between these two teams, it was like what 44-3 in Penn State's favor. So, just don't want to call it a rivalry. These guys have seen a lot of each other over the years because they used to be in the same conference, but West Virginia, man, they just get in their own way. USC with an exciting finish to beat LSU 27-20. Woody Marks only had 68 yards on the ground, but had the game-winning run up the middle with seconds to spare. USC quarterback Miller Moss looked cool, calm, and collected in this one, throwing for 378 yards. So Michigan could have its hands full come September 21st. USC and LSU here at Allegiant Stadium set an attendance record of 63,969 fans, surpassing Super Bowl 58, which was 61,629 fans. And as a Raiders fan, you kind of wish that the record was set by an actual Raider fan base, but it's just not where we're at the moment. So I watched pretty much the first half of this game. I didn't watch the second half. It kind of called it an early night Saturday, but USC uh, might have their next quarterback. And again, just like with the Penn State preview, we touched on in the USC preview. Lincoln Riley has coached 3 Heisman quarterbacks, all went number 1 overall. Is Miller Moss going to be next up? Is he going to be a part of that fraternity? And we'll see as the season goes on. When we come back, we're going to be hitting up segment 2. We'll recap Fresno State. When our community wins with us, we want to ensure you've maximized your ROI. Line shopping for the best odds matters, and that is why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books. Thankfully, there's never been a better time to get signed up, and we're here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. Using our link, signupexpert.com/southeast, you can get access to all the sports books in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique features. Most importantly, this page automatically connects you to the top promotions of each book, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. If you want to take advantage of these benefits and support our brand, please sign up for your next sportsbook at signupexpert.com/southeast. All right, let's get into the Fresno State game. Stat lines. Davis Warren, 15 of 25, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Alex Orji, 1 for 2, 3 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 carries for 32 yards. Khalil Mullings, 15 carries for 92 yards. Donovan Edwards, 11 carries for 27 yards. Colson Loveland, 8 receptions for 87 and a tutty. Josiah Stewart with 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Let me pull this up real quick. He was, I'd like to follow, a good follow is PFF College. They only really noted one Michigan player, and it was Josiah Stewart. So let's see here. What was Josiah Stewart's grade? Give me 1 second. Josiah Stewart, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback pressures, 50% pass rush win rate, 90.8 pass rush grade. So take that for what you will. Rayshawn Benny had 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss. Will Johnson, of course, with the game-sealing pick 6. And Dominic Zavada, the new kicker transfer from Arkansas State, went 3 for 3 with a 55-yarder. If I recall correctly, the other ones were like a 33-yarder and like a 40-something. Overall thoughts on the game. This will sound like 2023 if you listen to the pod last year. I'm not hitting the panic button, but boy, do these boys have a lot to iron out. Offensive line looked to be out of sorts for the first handful of drives, maybe even for the first half. Dominic Adice and Greg Crippen swapped a couple times at center. It just came down to really, missed assignments. So got another week of practice to iron that out, get on the same page, and find a good combination. So, these guys, don't lack experience per se. And we've talked about it before. Josh Pree from Northwestern got like 27 starts. Giovanni Alhadi's spot starter till now. The rest of the guys have been in and out of the lineup at some point. So they just got to find their groove and, first game jitters. I'm not gonna, mail it in, but they have something to work on there. Will Johnson, of course, had a pick 6, but seemed to be a step behind these Fresno State wide receivers a few times and got away with giving up a touchdown when Magdalena couldn't get into position to make the grab. It was kind of over the shoulder, and he kind of lost his footing right there at the pylon. So quarterbacks, kickers, quarterbacks, kickers, cornerbacks, defensive backs, that is, I guess. They need short memories. You can't be perfect. You're not gonna not get beat if you're Will Johnson. As good as he is. It's not like his draft stock is tanking right now. And of course, the rival fan bases are having a ball with it. But he almost had another interception earlier in the game. Just mistimed it. And that wide receiver, I think, picked up like 10, 15 yards or something like that after the catch, but he was caught, along the sideline. So, I'm not I'm just noting it. It's not like I'm not worried about Will Johnson, and um, the rotation with him though was kind of a head scratcher. Sideline reporter noted that Johnson, in fact, was not hurt, but Sharon Moore was simply rotating other guys in, and it just felt like, why would you even take him out? Game's still early, game's still close, but you know, again, just Monday morning quarterbacking here. But Will Johnson's going to go out there and ball out anyways. He goes up against the top of the line guys from the other team, so he'll go out there this week and face Texas, and I'm sure he'll do his thing. Michigan dominated time of possession, but it didn't really seem like it. The final drive to set up the Loveland Tutty was just over 4 minutes. Defense will be strong. Will be a strong asset this season. Outside of McBurrows taking a poor angle and a Johnson to step behind a couple times, his unit was solid. So the one Fresno State touchdown, Jay McBurrows is kind of like just bad angle right there on the hash marks, and the guy just puts the foot in. I don't even know his name, but the wide receiver just put his foot in the ground and cut up field. So yeah, it's cherry picking at its finest, and like I said, we've seen the first really 4 games last year where it was kind of going like, okay, what's going on? Offensively, it was a classic game where you thought, WTF, Davis Warman underthrew Frederick Moore for the interception, but it seemed to settle down the stretch. And if he didn't toss that one, you know, down into double coverage, he had an open wide receiver in the flat. I think someone said C.J. Charleston was there, number 5. The most frustrating part was that this offense, the most frustrating part was this offense being ran like 2021. And as expected, though, once Warren got in rhythm, they would yank them and put an orgy and swap back and forth, kind of like they with again McNamara and JJ. And no problem with that when you get down to the red zone, I understand. But like when you're in the middle of the field or in your own territory, it's just like why would we do that? But again, if Warren has got like 3 completions in a row, why bother taking him out? Um, again, Monday morning quarterbacking there, but sometimes it just disrupts the momentum, especially if the plays don't work. But if you look back at the one interception that he did throw, um, just felt like timing on the course was off. Should have thrown it earlier, but it just felt like he just wasn't set. So something he'll work on. And we seen him. Very small sample size in that spring game when he threw that long touchdown pass. All right, that was right on the money. So let's just let's pump the brakes. Let's not just call in, reinforcements just yet. Michigan fans, even before 2021, we do a phenomenal job at making the second string and maybe in the third string quarterback the most popular guy on the team when things aren't going well. Tend to overreact. Um, I'm not trying to give up on Donovan Edwards just yet either, but uh, it looks like RB1 is almost established here. I did, however, like the first touchdown call though when Kirk Campbell ran down under the corner and Orgy rolled out for that pass. I felt like that was a great misdirection, type thing. Everyone's expecting Orgy to run up the middle, and so was I because I put money on him scoring a touchdown. But instead, he rolls out and dumps it to Edwards for an easy 6. So I thought that, I wouldn't say masterful, but I thought that was a great decision. I also got frustrated with Dono not getting his reps, but early on in the game. But until further notice, man, my mind has changed. So again, I'm not giving up on Donovan Edwards, to 86 and for the year, but Khalil Mullings is deservedly the RB1. Edwards just does not break the tackles like we've seen in 2022, and Mullings just runs harder. Kind of reminded me of Davion Smith. Davion Smith, had his limitations, but he was just a ferocious and violent runner. And 2015, that offensive line wasn't the greatest, and Davion Smith had no choice but to be a bull. And you think of that BYU game where he disappears in that scrum and he squirts out the back end and he sheds off a tackler at the 5-yard line and backpedals in the end zone. So Yeah, Clem Mullings, he kind of got on my nerves a couple years ago when in the TCU game when, and it's not nothing personal to him, but they get like within the 5 yard line and they pull Donovan Edward to put Clem Mullings in, and that's when they fumbled the ball and all that stuff going on, and they didn't score, and just felt like you're doing Donovan a disservice, and that's how I felt earlier on in this game. It's like, why is he not getting the carries? And that was before his runs were ineffective. And then when you saw him out there for a drive or a majority of the drive, you're like, oh boy, woof. It just is not looking good. It's so perplexing to me, And I made a comment last week where his ball carrier vision at times, it seems like it's like Trent Richardson from back in the day at Alabama. It's like he just runs into a wall and then bounces out and finds it and then scores. That's kind of how the the Washington game, the national championship one, those two long runs. I mean, he doesn't hit the hole right away. It's hits a wall, then finds a hole, and I just don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. I'm not a coach, obviously. I'm not an expert, obviously. But when you watch that one of his touchdown runs versus Purdue, he sheds like 4 or 5 tackles, and it's like now I I just don't understand it. I don't know what's going on there. So hopefully hopefully his big game comes this weekend. Um, didn't see much of, if at all, Amarian Walker, but plenty of Kendrick Bell who had a catch for 12 yards, and then that was what caught my attention early on was Kendrick Bell, number 12, out there. Um, Ronnie Bell's brother, I believe, definitely related, but he out there ran some routes and caught a pass for 12 yards. So not giving him a trophy for it, but definitely something to watch as he's obviously impressed in camp to get out there early and often. Last thing on the offense before we move forward, Colston Loveland, just absolute matchup nightmare. Feed him the rock. Keep keep throwing it to number 18. That dude is an absolute monster. And that one drive where I believe he scored, that was a drive where Warren was started to get in that rhythm. That was absolutely beautiful. I lied. That's not the last thing. Another one where was it a third down conversion? Alex Orji uh, on the read option, pulled the ball and ran upfield for like 6, 7 yards, whatever, to get the first down. Thought that was another wonderful decision. Thought that was a great play on his part, and hopefully he gets more chances to shine in the passing game. He did throw another pass. And when he rolled out, it fell a few yards short at the feet at the intended target, and there was a lingering defender. So I don't know if that was him not trusting the ball getting there without picked, and he just kind of dumped it away. But yeah, people were on Twitter were going, "Oh, that's why he's not throwing the ball." But I'm not going to overreact that like that just yet. Final bit here though: Jake Moody, James Turner, and now Dominic Zavada. So at the top, I mentioned his 55-yarder. This dude's money, and hopefully he keeps sending it in for us and keeping us in games. And that was something in the Michigan preview where I mentioned that this team needs to score 6, not 3. But if you got to settle for 3, at least make it. And so Dominic Zavada so far has done that. Closing remarks. We'll hammer home the I'm not hitting the panic button yet. The team last year dragged through the first 4 games as well and couldn't cover the spread. I believe they were 1 for 3 or 1 for 4, not hitting the spread there, and it really didn't look full throttle till the Nebraska game, right? So, however, the season with a tougher schedule and Texas rolling in this week, they'll have to get into a championship mindset quicker. Um, Thought the officiating also got a little too ticky tack at the end of the game, starting with the TJ guy roughing the passer. Even Todd Blackledge and No Eagle even mentioned where the flag shouldn't have been thrown. TJ guy's in there. Mickey Keene gets rid of the ball, and TJ guy kind of like you know gathers himself and tries to run towards the play or jog towards back to the line of scrimmage and kind of just gave Mickey Keene a little love tap, and then Keene kind of just fell to the turf, and then they got rough in the passer, and so that was kind of bogus. And then Jayshon Barham flagged for a towel. I mean, I didn't even see it. I think I was like looking at my phone or my wife said something. I looked away from the TV for a split second and I seen a Fresno State player grab Jayshon Barham's towel that was hanging over in front of his crotch. And then Jayshon Barham ran over there to try to take it back. And then they got him for unsportsmanlike conduct. Thought that was absolutely just, I was going to say an expletive, just stupid. And then Will Johnson, on that game-winning pick six, whatever, started to mimic throwing a penalty flag, and so then he got hit for excessive celebration. So, yeah, just a little pettiness there at the end. Thought that could have been left out. When we come back, let's talk Texas Longhorns. All right, let's get back and let's talk Texas Longhorns. Okay. Um, Texas at Michigan, Fox Big Noon kickoff. Our favorite Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. Some is Joel Klatt, Gus Johnson. That's I personally enjoy them. I'm not like I don't slobber all over it, but it's kind of like Jim Harbaugh. Either you love him, yeah, or you hate him, I guess. And I know I said I was in a different category, but it just I don't understand the hate. I know Gus Johnson can get a little corny at times with his nicknames for his players, but at least you got a guy that has some sort of energy, right? Some of those announcers out there that are so boring or they just, I don't know, you know what I mean? Anyways, Texas minus 6.5. The over under on FanDuel was 44.5 when I looked, and the money line for Michigan was plus 190. I wouldn't be surprised if this line moves even wider. I think a friend of mine at work said something today about the line being at 7.5, but I've seen 6.5. Texas is coming off a 52 zip win over Colorado State. Quinn Ewers tossed for 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Arch Manning even got some work at the end, throwing for his first touchdown pass. As a team, Texas ran 41 times for 190 yards, even with C.J. Baxter and freshman Christian Clark, both running backs, out for the year. So Jadon Blue and Jared Gibson stood up and showed that they could split the workload. I think one guy literally had 11 carries, the other one had 10. Freshman wide receiver Ryan Wingo, 5-star guy, caught 4 passes for 70 yards. And Alabama transfer Isaiah Bond caught a touchdown with 61 yards and 5 receptions to go with it. 28 players on defense got on the stat sheet. So they had a good win, right? Went out there, did their thing. I'm pretty sure Quinn Ewers didn't want to throw an interception to Colorado State, but he did. Um, this team is going to be good. It's going to be a tough task to take them on. They lost, a lot in either in the portal or the NFL draft, but they replenished with bodies, and so Isaiah Bond's one of them, right? So they're going to go out there and give Michigan a competitive game. But still, I even after the Fresno State game, I'm still confident Michigan can put up a fight and win this one. Um, let's get into Michigan wins if. Michigan wins if they win the turnover battle. Wolverines need to get after Ewers early and often and force a couple of interceptions if possible. Do I have my mic on? Okay, yeah. A minute there, I thought I didn't turn my mic back on. Make the Longhorns one-dimensional. This team already leans on the passing game. I know statistically, it shows that they do run the ball a lot, but I know they want to establish their passing game too. But my hope is Michigan dominates the line of scrimmage and puts all the pressure on Quinn. Play complementary football. Didn't see this for Fresno State. Did not play complementary football. That was one of my keys last week. They're going to need to play it this week. Whether it is 5 carries or 15 carries, Big Game Donovan Edwards will be needed in this one. it's still mesmerizing that this kid doesn't get utilized like Austin Eckler. If he can't get going between the tackles, split him out wide or in the slot, for Christ's sake. Again, I always remember the 2020 Maryland game when they went out there and he had like 10 receptions for like 140 yards or something like that and like 2 or 3 touchdowns. I don't understand how that dude does not get the ball more. Uh, I had the same qualms in 2022, 2023. You know, when I was doing co-hosting Real Talk with Jeff, I in preseason we'd always be like, yeah, this is gonna be the year that Donovan Edwards could, Heisman dark horse could have 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, or 1,000 yards rushing, 800 yards receiving, something. It is absolutely, again, just like in the beginning of the Fresno State game, before you started to see that he was not effective at all. I felt like they were doing him a disservice that he is not being lined up in slot, doing disservice that hell he's not back there with Khalil Mullings simultaneously. How are you not running a wildcat with this dude? This dude threw 2 dimes in his career. I mean, we look back at the 2021 Iowa game in the Big Ten Championship, threw a money pass to Roman Wilson. This guy is just severely underutilized. And like I said, if he's not effective in the run game, put him in space, bubble screen, something. That was another frustrating thing too. Was when we had Eric All. That dude is a skyscraper. How does that dude not get 2 Cade McNamara fade passes when you get in the red zone? It just boggles my mind how sometimes that I don't know. Again, I can't. I always stutter this. Monday morning quarterbacking, right? I understand. That's just my frustration. Um, Overall feelings on where I'm at. I feel confident going into this game, as I mentioned in the season preview, because of the parallels to last season coming out the gate. I'm still not really moved and changed my mind that Michigan, on Michigan winning this weekend. One more key factor will be Michigan converting on third and medium or third and long. Uh, You know, Davis Warren, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, key third down. You're on your side of the 50, or you're in their territory and you're trying to pick it up to get in a field goal range, something like that. Like they're gonna have to execute there. And with the win over a top 5 team, second week of the season will be a valuable piece on that resume for down the road. Okay, so score prediction. I said 31-13. Was it, or what the hell was the score prediction I said for Fresno State? Um, 31-13 and was what 30-10. So I was damn close. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 31 Texas, Michigan 34. 3-point game. Maybe Dominic Zavada kicks a game winner. Maybe he kicks one and they hold him on defense. They get a defensive stop, something like that. But I still think Michigan can go out there and win this one. Um, Everyone left that game, to my knowledge, healthy. No one's really banged up. Um, So go blue and take down Quinn Ewers, a former Ohio State quarterback, and was very good hearted about it, but called Michigan the team up north in his press conference either today or yesterday. So yeah, go out there and beat Coach Sark and the Texas Longhorns. Send Matthew McConaughey back home packing in his Chrysler Pacifica or whatever the hell vehicle company he advertises, where he talks essentially to your ears. All right, all right, all right. Games I'm keeping an eye on this weekend. Iowa State and Iowa. I know I had um, Iowa on my radar this past weekend, but Iowa State um, going to Iowa City. The Hawkeyes have largely dominated this rivalry for this past decade, but the Cyclones did win 10-7 the last time they were visiting their in-state rivals. So let's see if the Hawkeye offense can repeat itself. And Kirk Ferentz is back from his, I think, self-imposed suspension. Took himself out for one game for the whole tampering in the transfer portal to get Cade McNamara there. My next one is Michigan State at Maryland. Canadian Childs and the MSU offense rebound after a lackluster outing at home versus Florida Atlantic. So they are not playing Boston College. I said earlier in the pod that they might be playing Boston College. They're not. They do play them, but not this weekend. They are at Maryland, and this game is not on my betting sheet, but I believe Maryland is a minus like 160 favorite. So we'll see what happens. Billy Edwards was highly rated in PFF, the quarterback for the Terrapins, for his performance this past weekend. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Colorado at Nebraska. Freshman Dylan Raiola and Shedeur Sanders square off 7:30 primetime on NBC. This game is going to be very exciting. Dylan Raiola went out there and because he wears number 15, everyone was drooling over him with his no-look pass. Obviously shades of Patrick Mahomes. So we'll see how he does taking on the Colorado Buffaloes. So we're sitting at 1-3 on the betting picks, or on my betting picks. So it's time to rebound. So here are my three for this weekend, okay? Over 55 on Kansas at Illinois. Both offenses performed well in week one. I like Kansas and their quarterback already, and I think that this either goes back and forth or the Jayhawks curb stomp the Illini. Illini quarterback Luke Altmaier threw like 4 tutties. Kansas Jalen Daniels played well too, so you got a high over under. I think they hit the over here, and I personally lean towards this being a back and forth game and probably no defense being really played here, but that's where I'm at. So go Jayhawks. Next, -3.5 Ohio State over Western Michigan. Buckeyes got the nerves out of the way versus Akron, and I think even with the backups in late, these dudes obliterate Western. So for that game versus Akron, they were feeling it out, getting rid of the nerves, something. They were 7-3 or 7-0. Yeah, it was 7-3. It was 7-3, 10-3 or whatever. It was close for a little while, and in typical Buckeye fashion, they blew the doors off later on. But I think Western Michigan is going to get curb stomped, and I think if they're up early, maybe Will Howard takes a seat and they put in one of the million quarterbacks they have on the roster. Julian Sayin, Aaron Noland, Devin Brown, whoever. They can just plug and play anybody. My third one is Syracuse on the money line. They're plus 122 versus Georgia Tech. Kyle McCord looked good throwing 4 tutties versus Ohio at home. Now they have the Yellow Jackets in their building. Georgia Tech upset Florida State and got by Georgia State. So the risk here is the Orange may have been exposed on run defense, allowing Ohio running back Anthony Tyus to run for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Syracuse will hopefully, for my money's sake, not have a putrid ass run defense. Versus Georgia Tech, but it remains to be seen. Georgia Tech isn't as triple option heavy or run heavy as they used to be. They do throw the ball a little bit, so I got plus 120. Excuse me, I got Syracuse plus 122 on the money line there in that one. So those are my 3 picks for the weekend. So there you have it, folks. Thank you again for tuning in. Back next week, at least to recap Texas. We'll preview Arkansas State. We'll talk, of course, around the landscape. If anything, newsworthy pops off, we'll talk about that too. And like as I mentioned, I'm going to try to collab with Jeff to do a episode regarding Sign Stealer. And if that doesn't happen, I will definitely be here doing it myself. Just trying to get out through, hammer through these first few weeks of September, get through the end of August with my busy personal life schedule, and get that episode out for you. Okay? So go blue, beat the Longhorns, horns down. See you next time.